Well, today I want to talk to you about communication. What is it that makes us easy to communicate? Some people find it hard. How to be able to communicate effectively with others? What is the communication like at work to compare with home? Socially out with others and other friends? Or when you are just with your special friend? How do you communicate? This is something that I absolutely love, and I'm fascinated with how people communicate. And a lot of it comes down to your thinking processes, your personality, introvert, extrovert, how you like to portray yourself. Are you animated? Are you not? You can be an introvert and be animated, or you can be an extrovert and not. How expressive are you? Are you a quiet person when you speak, or you're really loud and you're aware of it, or you're not aware of it? So when it comes to communication, I want to break it down a little bit. So what is effective communication? I'm actually going to read some of these of what I've got in my modules that I use with clients. It's being able to speak to others in some language and other thinking styles as the person you are speaking with. The language as in sales and medical and building and retail, accounting, etc. In the industry you are in, but not in the language as far as French, Spanish or Italian. Each industry has their own language, the way they label or call certain things. Understanding this makes a difference for when you're relating to workmates and from others from other sectors within a business. So what this is saying is that if you've got to go to a conference and there is going to be a majority of accountants or sales or could be lawyers, whatever industry it is, do some homework and find out what their key lingo is. Because every industry has their key lingo and their own language. Try and learn all that so that when you're there, you understand them when they're speaking better. It also helps you to be able to communicate with them so that you don't have to keep asking, what does this mean? What does that mean? Especially if it's your partner's conference or it's somewhere where you have to go and then you have to, really understand it more. There's nothing worse than when you go somewhere and you don't understand it. I've recently become a board member of a banking industry, and I'm learning so much as far as their own lingo. I've been there 12 months and I've only just scraped the surface of learning. And it's really interesting because they are a lot of analytical people and I'm more organised, and it makes it really interesting learning and stepping outside that comfort zone of what they're talking about. But on the other hand, it's actually made it so much better for me to be able to listen to the finance business on the news, or when, those finance guys get up and they talk about what's coming in the future. I've been able to understand that better than I did before because I've had to learn the language within that industry. And that's where it really helps, especially if your husband or wife or partner is in an industry that you're not. And they come home and they just tell you all sorts of things. This way you can understand them better and also be able to ask them questions. This is really important. It's really important, especially if you want to move up in the ladder or really be effective within the workplace, to understand exactly how everyone's talking. Then we're going to go into the work communication a little bit more. And this is the part of the communication where you are speaking to others at work, and it's often different when you are with family members. To comprehend to when you are at work, and this is because you're usually more relaxed. So this is more of your environment rather than stepping out of it. And then you don't have to concentrate as much because you know exactly where you are, you're a little more comfortable. But when we're at work and we make sure that we are saying the right thing still and making sure that we're not stepping on anyone's toes where it comes to religion, culture, person size, weight, height, lack of, and even gender these days. So we also need to be aware of the legal terms within our business. What is the ACCC, rules? Does that affect your business? Does that come into it? What is your mission statement and your values and your purpose? This is something that whenever someone is going for an interview or has to come in and see the company, most people will look up on the website to see what your mission statement is, what your values are, and what your purpose is within the industry, to see if it aligns with their values. When I've spoken to many people, we've worked out 34 conferences over the years and a number of, little day things, is that a lot of staff members have no idea what their purpose, mission, and values are. They have a rough idea we want to make sure our customers are happy. Well, isn't that part of every single business, to make sure our customers are happy? But what is the key points? Is it training? Is it being heard? Is it being absolutely valued? What is it within your business are your processes? So the thing is that even though we are in our own workplace, do we really know the language within our workplace? How do we know what everything is? Do we take it all in from meetings? I've heard so many people come out of meetings go, well, that was a waste of time. Often it's because the leader hasn't actually spoken in their quadrant of thinking, or they haven't spoken in their department within the business. It might be about something else in a different department, and it was all about that. However, sometimes it is things that you need to know that's happening in another department. But on most will only tune in when it comes to their department and their workplace. Then we're going to touch on the LGBTQIA communication. Now, this is a snippet that was out of an article of CU Denver News in the City Stories. Now it says, the biggest communication in today's society is the Equally Project Development, the Australian LGBTIQA policy guide, to ensure that lesbian, gay, bi, transgender, diverse, non-binary, intersex, queer, asexual, and amoratic, ace and pro, people and their families experience genuine inclusion and the realisation of their human rights in Australia. The guide in the high-level overview of the most prominent needs experienced broadly throughout Australia in the LGBTIQA communities. Whether you agree or disagree with this law, you have to abide with it. This is where our world is changing. Our language is changing. And when we talk about language of communication, it is the language of what you speak within your area. We all have to mix out there. And when you're with friends, you still have to be careful with what you say, purely because you don't know who may be listening at the next table. And unfortunately, you can offend them. It is one of these things that you are either very divided or you're very agreeable. It's really sad that a lot of this has divided our country as far as the laws, communication, what you can say, what you can't say. You can swear, can't swear. What you talk to about a woman, a man. How years ago, just 25 years ago in the workplace, I remember the guys would say, wow, she's a bit all right. You can't say that anymore. And the wolf whistle. When I was a teenager, we loved hearing a wolf whistle because it meant that, wow, they think you're all right. You can't even do that anymore. So there is a lot of things of what us as older have finding it hard to learn all of these new languages. So the young ones, it's easy for them because they're learning it. So when it comes to communication, we need to be really careful of what it is that we're doing to making sure that it is what is perceived on the other side. A lot of times I find it actually easier to ask questions. Can I ask you, what do you prefer to be called? And everyone will give you a different answer. So when it comes to communication, they are the three biggest ones. And then there is also the others, the everyday communication. This is when everyday communication within your workmates, your family, your friends, and it comes down to your thinking preferences. Now, the thinking preferences is called HBDI. I'm a HBDI practitioner, and we have 4 main thinking styles. It depends as to where you are in those thinking styles. Some are stronger, some are weaker. So you've got your rational self, which is your analytical facts. Then you've got your safekeeping self, which is your form and your organisation. Then you've got your feeling self, which is the sensitive, emotional. And you've got your experimental self, and that is your spontaneous and visionary. So this is where it makes it so interesting when you're speaking to people that are in a different quadrant to you, asking questions and seeing how they will answer to compared with others in different quadrants. Communication is amazing, and it's so interesting. And then we have the non-verbal communication of where it's non-verbal, known as body language. You can see this play when you travel around the world and trying to communicate with others who don't speak the same language as you. Then it comes down to miming games between people and the way they interact with others other than understanding each other and trying to say. This can be very funny when you're watching. But it's amazing as to how the body language of communication. Now, you will all know that everyone says actions speak louder than words. Well, that's where your body language comes in. You may be saying that you don't like something or someone, but your body language says something different. How do you control it? Do you know what you're doing? So this is where a lot of people who do understand body language are able to trick other people because they know how to act and talk and not give things away. So I hope you've liked this little section on communication, and sometime later we're going to do one on effective staff meetings. That's really interesting. So anyway, today I know it was really a little bit heavy, a little bit lighter, but I hope you enjoyed it on communication and how different it is today. I'm Kerry Hortrow, and my business is Brain Thinking.